What's up? Guten Abend. Maik Wiedenbach here, 8:30ish, sort of. And the first question I got during the week was, Mike, how do I know whom to trust in the fitness world? That's a good question. Today, everybody who's on Instagram or YouTube is a coach, right? So that leads to a lot of misinformation. Obviously, in the fitness industry, there are billions of dollars to be chopped up, and everybody wants some of those dollars. So how do you know who's a decent coach, or whom can you trust? So at the bottom layer, there's sort of everybody in local gym who's either really big or did a show. All of a sudden they're like, hey, I'm a coach. No, you're not. So that's somebody who got in shape, and that's fine, doesn't qualify to be a coach or an authority, so to speak. Then you have the scam artists. These people have just no shame. Two people come to mind. Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss really has the audacity to take the Colorado experiment, which was Casey Viato losing all this weight because he had tetanus, training with Arthur Jones, gaining the weight back, and then claiming he gained 30 pounds of muscle in a month, and making this into a book, The 4-Hour Body, or the 10-minute body, whatever. Whenever you see something like this, or Vince Del Monte, 41 pounds in 6 months, that'd be 80 pounds in a year of muscle. I'd be 310. If I did this, I'd be bigger than Ronnie Coleman, drug-free. Sure. And there's a flying pig over there. So, whenever you see something like this, also if Tim Ferriss has like lose 20 pounds of fat in 30 days without dieting and exercising. What? Ask yourself, would the NFL, Edelman, Brady, train, hey Larry, twice a day for weeks and weeks and years on end if they could just train 10 minutes every 5 days? So these people are scam artists. Do not listen to them. Then there's some people, I call them outliers. So there is Lyle McDonald, who is not a great athlete and is also not a researcher by training. His words, not mine. He has a degree in bro science, he says. But his books are very good, okay? He's not really a people person, but his books are worth reading. So even though he's not physically a specimen, nor does he have a PhD, he has put out over the years some real quality stuff that's worth giving it a read. So Lyle McDonald is somebody that it's not an easy read, but it's worth it, okay? And then there's some people, they're sort of crossing over. So, for instance, Charles Poliquin, may he rest in peace. I always feel there were two Charles Poliquins. There was the guy until 2000 who went to the libraries in Germany, France, Belgium, Bulgaria, Poland, Russia, dug out stuff, translated, and really gave us some really good stuff. And then at some point he said, I gotta make money. And he started pushing supplements, and that's okay, but he really went down the rabbit hole. He became very carbophobic, and the supplements were to the point where you had to take 50, 60, 70 pills a day, and then vitamin C injections, and that was a bit off, you know. So like Charles Poliquin before 2000, I thought was a great researcher. Again, is somebody who doesn't really have a degree per se, but who did great work, and then he kind of, for lack of a better word, sold off. So then Jim Stoppani also is a bit like, he's pushing his supplements very hard. I get you gotta get paid, but he's got some great videos. And, you know, truth to be told, in this industry, everybody has an angle. Like, I'm trying to sell my books, my training, and then there's Ben Pakulski, whom I greatly value. I think he's got amazing stuff in terms of biomechanics and how the body works. He's a bit carbophobic, and he's also, you know, gone very on the deep end with the keto. A better camera, he says. Yeah, okay, I save up for that. Okay, fair point. So Ben Pakulski, in terms of strength curve, muscle activation, diet, and so on and so forth, there's a lot to be learned from him. He's a good guy. Lane Norton, even though him and BPAC sometimes come across as a bit of teaching down. And I say this because my entire family are teachers. Like my mother taught grammar school, my dad university, my grandfather was a principal, you name it. And I don't like the top-down approach so much. So that can be a bit of a turnoff. But if you see through that, then both Lane Norton and BPAC are good guys. My favorite, to be honest, is Brad Schoenfeld. He does actual studies with real people, not just stories, not just like this worked for me because I'm bigger than you and you will listen to me. And he's very humble. Personally, I feel that anybody in coaching who presents you a major breakthrough or a black box is lying. So like a black box, right? I used to be an investment banker. I think of Enron, I think of WorldCom, and it always ends in disaster. What's in the box? I can't tell you. So somebody who is humble in this delivery and doesn't have to tell you like that he's so much smarter than you comes across as a much better coach. For instance, I have clients, they're worth billions, but if you see them, you think they're homeless, okay? Because they don't have to tell you all the time how successful they are. So that's also something to look for in terms of the video is lagging. Yeah, there's nothing I can do. There is an issue with the Wi-Fi in Astoria right now, in Queens where I am, so I'm sorry about that. Nothing to be done. Talk to Con Edison about that. So when you find a coach, I would like knowledge, delivery, and overall humility. That was question 1. Question 2, how did I get into bodybuilding? Who cares? Okay, so it was a long time ago. My dad was watching Terminator. I walked upstairs. We had the TV in the attic. My mom did not allow TVs any lower. And I saw Arnold and I was hooked. It sounded cliche, but that was it. This was like the late 80s or the 90s. People were working out in onesies, guys, that is questionable fashion with the mullets, but they were in shape. So at first I used bodybuilding as a tool to get myself in better shape and swim faster. Also self-actualization, all that sort of thing. And then, after swimming, I used it as a business tool. Hey Howard, how is the sound? Is there anything lagging? Because I can't really tell. As I said, there's connection issues in Astoria, but again, that's out of my control. Much better now, good. So like I said, so then I started training, built somewhat of a business here in New York City. And then I did some competitions, won the Musclemania. And then bodybuilding has an narcissistic side. And I've talked about this before, but I'm actually bipolar. And I was not medicated, and that just does not drive. So I had an episode where I don't want to, but I just went off like the deep end. You don't understand, had to be hospitalized. And then went on medication. But of course I knew better. A year later, same thing. Lost the business, had to rebuild it, what have you. The interesting thing is that and the reason I'm telling you this is not because I want any pity or any sort of medal. Whenever I was in the episodes, right after I started to realize that it's not just so much about me, but about others, and I started helping more. So after the first episode, I started writing the blog and the books. And after the second episode, I started doing the videos to help more people. So that is basically my evolution as a bodybuilder. So it's not so much about me anymore, but about what I can do for others, okay? Then we have a question about digestive enzymes. That is a good question. It's often overlooked. So you eat all this stuff, you buy all these protein powders or steaks or whatever. If you can't digest them, then it's not going to happen. So basically, papaya, pineapple work really well. Kefir can help a lot. And then there is, this kind of sounds like such a cliche, but sauerkraut, fermented cabbage, or kimchi. They really work wonders. Okay, so definitely have this every day to some extent. One of those, there's a reason people marinate their steak in some sort of lime juices, so it breaks down the proteins into amino acids. What to do when coming back from a layoff? And this person actually had like a bad accident. So let me tell you a story. after I was done with the service in Germany, they give you a bunch of money, sort of like a lump sum. So this was in the olden days where people went to travel agents. So I went to a travel agent with my buddy. I'm like, hey, I got this kind of money. What can you get us? And he goes, well, you can go to Kenya. I'm like, that sounds reasonable. So gotta get vaccine for malaria, blah, blah. Long story short, I got it, okay? It was horrible. I was so weak. I was down to like maybe 130 pounds. From back then I was about 180. I was swimming so slowly that I would say like 15-year-old girls would lap me. It was miserable. So what do you do when you're in such a situation like that? So the first thing is you start training. Frequency. So do not do any type of monster workout, but simply try to go every day, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Muscle memory is a beautiful thing. That actually might be the one time where I did gain a pounder almost a day, like Vince Del Monte promised me, without me buying his product, okay? So you can train every day, you know, and then you increase the volume on a weekly basis, okay? So you gotta understand you're not King Kong yet, so you gotta give yourself some time coming back from something like this. You also don't need that much food as you think you do. So even though you're in a depleted state, overeating will still make you fat, okay? So keep the bulk reasonable, like a slow surplus is plenty, you don't need that much, okay? Increase frequency gradually over a week period, and then after week 4 or 5 you can go back to some sort of a split, okay? So when coming from a long layoff, whole body workouts really reign supreme, you know? At first you're probably going to be able to do every other day, then you can do 4 days a week, you can work into 5, you know, from so on and so forth. Okay? Next question is, hey Mike, I'm stuck at a plateau. What do I do? That's a very common question. The first issue I have with this question is that in bodybuilding, who says you're on a plateau? Does it mean you haven't gained any weight? Does it mean you haven't gotten any stronger? You haven't gotten any leaner? Most people do not measure it accurately. In bodybuilding, it's not, let's say, like running or swimming where you can say, okay, this guy ran slower or faster, whatever the case may be. So the first thing is to figure out, am I in a plateau? And, you know, the closest thing we have is, I guess, would be a DEXA scan that measures your body fat and your body mass. How old I am? I will be 43 this Saturday. If you understand presents, feel free. So let's assume you're in a plateau, okay? The first thing you do is you look, has anything changed? Did you have kids? Is your job more demanding? Maybe you're not able to train as hard as you used to be, okay? If your training and diet and everything is in check and you're still not making progress, then let's go to the videotape. So the one thing is probably you're not training with enough volume. If you're stuck, you need to increase the volume, okay? Not to failure, but you need to add sets during those sessions. That's number